Hey there, it's Hardcore Sustainable, and today I'm in the Timberframe, specifically the Timberframe Edition, which is one of my favorite houses at Dancing Rabbit. It's got the most incredible aesthetic beauty and a lot of details, not only aesthetic details, but a lot of sustainable systems that allow somebody that lives here to live very self-sufficiently. I'm gonna give you a little tour today of the house. We'll go through some of those sustainable systems and talk about how they work, and we'll show you some of that aesthetic beauty and all those details. Where I am now is in the Timberframe Edition, and there's another section of it called the Timberframe Cabin that was the original building. And the original cabin is one of the earliest buildings at Dancing Rabbit. It's also a Strawbale timberframe house. And that was started and built in 1998, and then this addition was added on in 2009. And the reason that Jennifer, the original designer and builder of this addition, wanted to add on to the original cabin was that she was running out of space. She has 3 kids and wanted more space for them. They were wanting their own space as well. They were getting older and needed their own rooms. And so she built this addition, and then there's 3 additional bedrooms in this part of the house. One of them is on the 2nd floor, and that really, I think, adds some interesting beauty to this house. So although this house is many years old now, like many houses at Dancing Rabbit, there are some unfinished parts of it. And I'm currently the caretaker of this house, and so I've been working on slowly getting some of those details finished. Currently the house is not being rented, which is why I'm taking advantage of this time to do this little tour. The house is actually for sale. Jennifer has just decided she's not coming back to Dancing Rabbit anytime, and so she's interested in selling it. Hey, you won't know when I post a new Hardcore Sustainable video unless you click the bell to get notifications. So do that now if you want more great videos on radical sustainable living. Okay, we're here in the kitchen. I like the layout of this kitchen. I'm a big cook myself, and so kitchens are really important to me. I like this. It's got this island here. It's got plenty of space over here. It's got the fridge right over here. It's got the sink right there. And then it's got this big wood cook stove. Cook stoves traditionally also operate as heaters of a house, so you're not only able to cook on the surfaces or in the oven, but then it's heating up your house. But this cook stove is a little bit special in that it can also heat up the house by heating up the water in the water system. It supplements the evacuated tube solar system outside, and both of those together work to heat up the water in the house. And then once you have that water in the tank heated up, you can circulate it through radiant floor tubing that will heat up the thermal mass of the earthen floors and then start heating up the house in that way as well. So if it's a sunny day in the wintertime, you're not only getting the hot water from your evacuated tube array system, but then you might have a fire going in here and you're cooking your food, and then that is heating up your water as well. That is circulating that heat through the floor to heat up the whole house. It also has radiant floor tubing in the 2nd floor room, so you can heat the 2nd floor with this hot water system. And then you've got, of course, the wood stove itself, which is just radiating heat out into the area. It's got this thermal mass behind it as well. This is not really a chimney. This is mostly just here for thermal mass to hold the heat of the stove. And then this is the stovepipe that goes up, and it actually goes through the 2nd floor room, and it's got a cob around that stovepipe, and that catches even more of the heat before it goes out through the chimney. And this detail, I don't know if this was intentional, but I really like the way it turned out with this cracked plaster. It just provides its own little design work in the plaster. Right here you can see a transition. You've got your earthen floor over here, and then you've got oak wood, reclaimed, I think, oak wood flooring here, And then you've got your tile over here, stone tile. So 3 different kinds of floor in this house. And obviously it makes sense to have the stone tile in the kitchen where you're going to have more water. And I actually don't know if the radiant floor tubing goes through all of the wood floor, but I would guess it does. Seems like it should, but that does not have the thermal mass then that the rest of the earthen floor has, unless it's possible that there's earthen floor underneath this wood floor. This dining room area has a beautiful vaulted ceiling, and you can see the clerestory design to let sunlight deeper into the house for more passive solar heating. The clerestory continues into the loft room upstairs, and you can see the vent to allow airflow between this first floor and the loft bedroom. The wooden ceiling is a great combo with the earthen plaster and the exposed timber framing. This wall here is one of those unfinished parts of the house. It looked much worse last fall before I did this scratch coat of plaster. This is the old wall of the cabin. So that's the cabin right over there, and that's what this doorway is. This doorway goes right into the cabin. You can see the detail on the timber framing up here. All this joinery here. It looks pretty good. The bathroom has a hot water shower, which is kind of a luxury at Dancing Rabbit. Though the amount of hot water available in the summer depends on how sunny it's been, because the only source of water heating is the evacuated tube array. A window into the main living room allows natural light into the bathroom from the clerestory windows. You notice there isn't a toilet, but like most bathrooms at DR, there's a humanure bucket. Leave a comment below and let me know what you like about the house. This first bedroom is definitely my favorite. It's on the north end of the house with 3 deep window wells. Thermal curtains help keep the space warm in winter and cool in summer. It's on the very low end of the roof slope, so one side of the room has a pretty low ceiling. So if you look closely, and the sconce was there, which happens to be missing, so I'm noticing. This is actually, the dragon's head is up there, and then it's breathing cold fire, I guess, blue fire, down through that lamp. So, pretty cool. Beautiful, beautiful detail there. And the earthen plaster. Not a lot of people do this. Most people just do a smooth, plain looking earthen plaster, but I love that they took the time to put this dragon in here. And then there's this archway here that almost looks like an old door on a castle, and I don't think it's actually a functioning door. It might be a piece of wood, but if this wood were taken out, there would just be an archway that would go through to the other bedroom. And I don't know if that was the plan to make that possible so that you could just have one space here with an archway in between. That would be pretty cool too. But I do like the way that this the wooden door kind of thing looks in this house. And having the dragon right above it makes it that much more incredible. It's almost like you're in a castle and the dragon is flying over the castle, kind of like Game of Thrones, only this was done way before Game of Thrones. I'm not sure what the dragon's teeth are made of. Maybe little bones, or more likely just pieces of glass. And it's complete with the trident tail. And then there are other glass mosaics inlaid in the earthen plaster. This one in the dragon room is of a Venus flytrap. This mosaic in the kitchen is of the Dancing Rabbit Ecovillage logo. This second bedroom shows the other side of that arched doorway with some more mosaic inlay. can see how these rooms would be great for a kid to live in. The shelving here is held up by bamboo sticks sunk into the strawbale wall. All of these details and natural materials match so well with the earthen plaster. The loft bedroom has a ladder and passage from the main part of the house. This room has a lot of windows, so it's the brightest room in the house. The windows give you a good view of the village in almost all directions, especially if you go up to the platform in the turret. An east-facing door provides entry from a deck that can be accessed from a stairway. This way the room can be rented separate or just be used as a private guest space. This little area back here is the guts of the house. So we've got our water heater with the heat exchanger, not only from pipes coming in from that evacuated tube array out there, but also the heat exchanger from that cook stove comes into here. This is where it all gets heated up. We've got different piping back here. This whole setup here is for the radiant floor tubing. We've got the cabin line, which is the cabin has the radiant floor heating in there as well. And then this is the first floor, so this heats up this first floor, and then it's got the upstairs room line as well, so you can heat up that little room upstairs. If you go to the link for the video where I fixed the pump and the evacuated tube system, you can check out that system. Just this back here is just the stovepipe clean out, which is a little bit of a complicated system. It's not the most efficient thing, but everything in the house comes through here. Another thing about this house is it's got underfloor cisterns. Often when people build a house, they'll put their cistern in a pit outside, dig the pit, and then bury it. In this house, the cisterns are actually right underneath the floor here, which could be seen as problematic. I guess it was done so that we were sure that they wouldn't freeze, but even if you have a cistern sticking 6 inches above the ground in this climate, it's too much of a bulk of water that's in the ground to really freeze. So anyways, there's one cistern right here, and then there's another hatch over there that has the opening to the other cistern, and sometimes you have to go down there and clean those out. Rainwater catchment from all the gutters goes into these cisterns and fills them up, 2,500 gallons each, so that's a lot of water capacity. This house does have the shower, and so it's got a lot more water systems than your typical house at Dancing Rabbit. So when this addition was built, they did put a new off-grid system in, and there are 16 L16 batteries here, lead acid batteries. They're all dead now, and so she's gonna have to recycle these. I don't know if she has any plans to get a new battery bank. If she does, it'll probably be smaller. The house is completely disconnected from the off-grid system now. Since we got the microgrid installed at Dancing Rabbit several years ago, that's part of the reason why Jennifer decided not to replace her batteries, is because she could just connect directly to the grid. And that's what's happening now in this house. She does have several solar panels up on the roof, and unfortunately they're not backfeeding at all right now because they're not connected to anything. So this house is just consuming power off of our microgrid. I would like to get those solar panels connected again so that she can do some backfeeding, and I'm looking into getting the same kind of microinverter that I have on my solar panels that backfeeds directly into the AC line. Hardcore Sustainable Channel is located at Dancing Rabbit Ecovillage, the country's most radical example of sustainable community living. Dancing Rabbit has the biggest collection of natural buildings in the eastern United States, and you can see them all at once if you come visit. Go to dancingrabbit.org to find out more about visiting Dancing Rabbit Ecovillage. Subscribe to Hardcore Sustainable and click the bell for notifications. Don't let hopelessness overwhelm you. Live by example to change the world for the better, and it'll make your life better too.